Today, Cryptocurrency Academy will tell you about TRX, a coin that changed the life of a very ordinary person in the most literal sense. From $800 up to about $133,189.98. Listen to me, that number is not a joke. It did not come from praying. It came from remembering the right price phase, buying while people laughed, and selling when the whole world started going crazy. TRX is the kind of coin that shows you how fast crypto can move and how brutally it can fall. If you listen closely, you will not only remember TRX, you will remember something more important: how the crowd behaves, how emotions push price, and how discipline saves an account. In crypto explained terms, discipline in crypto is rarer than gold. TRX was born at exactly the right time in 2017. A crazy time, truly crazy. ICOs exploded. Everyone said blockchain would change the internet, change finance, change entertainment. People did not only want technology, they wanted a story big enough to believe and fast enough to get rich. TRON walked onto the stage with a message that was easy to sell: entertainment, internet, and digital content. Creators make the value, so they should be paid directly, without platforms in the middle taking the biggest cut. It sounded beautiful. It sounded perfectly timed. And when the market is hot, a beautiful story is fuel. More fuel means a bigger fire. A bigger fire means price runs. In crypto explained language, that is a mechanism many people refuse to admit, but it is real. At the beginning, TRX was a token on Ethereum, meaning it lived on someone else's highway. But Tron's ambition was to have its own chain, its own infrastructure, its own ecosystem. Justin's son showed up like someone who knows how to create attention. And in crypto, attention is gold. When attention rises, liquidity rises, then price rises. Listen to me, that mechanism is so simple, everyone understands it. But most people forget the other half. Attention can come fast, and it can leave fast. You cannot build a plan based only on noise. Noise praises you today, abandons you tomorrow. In crypto explained terms, TRX will teach that lesson very clearly. Late 2017, TRX price was tiny, like a grain of sand. Looking at it, you thought it was nothing. But that smallness is exactly what makes people lose control, because the percentage gain only needs a small move to look like a miracle. The crowd started talking about a once-in-a-lifetime chance. They talked about early retirement. They talked about financial freedom. They talked very well. But the market does not care that you talk well. The market only cares where you buy and where you sell. The biggest trap sits right here. When price is low, you are scared. When price is high, you get greedy. And when you get greedy, you pay the highest price. I will say it straight. Most investors lose not because they lack intelligence. They lose because they cannot handle their own emotions. Kevin Walters, a network technician, lives in Phoenix, Arizona. On November 12, 2017, Kevin bought TRX at $0.00180434 per TRX. Kevin put in exactly $800. At that price, Kevin bought about 443,375.42 TRX. Back then, nobody crowned Kevin a genius. People laughed because it looked cheap, it looked small, it looked like a game. Kevin did not argue. Kevin only did what very few people can do: write the target and keep the discipline. On January 5, 2018, TRX climbed to about $0.3004 per TRX. Kevin sold $443,375.42 times $0.3004 equals about $133,189.98. Kevin made about $132,389.98, a return of about $16,548.75. Trust me, this is the kind of profit that changes an entire life. You think Kevin won because he guessed the top? No. Kevin won because he understood a rough rule that is brutally effective: buy when you are mocked, sell when you are worshipped. The time between those 2 points is where your nerve gets tested. Price does not move in a straight line. It shakes, it scares, it tempts. It makes you want to take profit too early because you are afraid to lose gains. Then when price starts running, it makes you want to hold forever because you get greedy. Those two traps kill people the same way. And early 2018, TRX was the perfect environment for those traps because media exploded, chat groups exploded. People talked about TRX like it was destiny. Listen to me, destiny does not pay you. In crypto explained terms, only correct decisions and discipline pay you. The peak in early January 2018 was not just a number. It was a psychological state. You opened social media, and everywhere you saw stories of getting rich fast. You heard friends talking, you heard strangers talking, you even heard people who never opened a wallet talking. When everyone talks, risk rises. Not because the project magically becomes bad, but because expectations have inflated too far. When expectations inflate, one small loss of breath is enough for price to drop. The market back then was like a balloon. The more you pump it, the prettier it looks, but the closer it gets to exploding. And when it explodes fast. People usually think they will run in time. Trust me, most do not. Because at that moment, there is no logic left, only panic. In crypto explained terms, panic is the fastest way to donate your position. Marissa Collins, an insurance broker employee, lives in Orlando, Florida. On January 5th, 2018, Marissa bought TRX at $0.3004 per TRX. Marissa put in $5,000. At that price, Marissa bought about 16,644.47 TRX. What did it feel like at the moment of buying? It felt safe, because the chart looked beautiful, because everyone was showing profits, because news was everywhere. Then the market flipped, with no warning, no permission. On November 26, 2018, TRX fell to about $0.012 per TRX. Marissa sold in exhaustion, 16,644.47 TRX times $0.012 equals about $199.73. Marissa lost about $4,800.27, a return of about minus 96.01%. This is the bill of FOMO. The bill is very expensive. In crypto explained terms, FOMO is the tax the crowd charges you. What hurts the most is not only losing money. What hurts the most is losing confidence in yourself. Marissa is not a bad person. Marissa is just someone swept away by crowd psychology. And the crowd, listen to me, the crowd never takes responsibility for your account. When price goes up, they scream. When price falls, they disappear. 2018 was a year of exhaustion, a long grind down, quiet drops, then occasional bounces that tempt you to hope, then more drops. That falling rhythm is what breaks investors, because it does not give you one shock to end it quickly. It drags you day by day, week by week, until you tell yourself enough. And often, the exact moment you say enough is the cheapest moment. Trevor Lane, a line cook, lives in Las Vegas, Nevada. Trevor did not buy the bottom like Kevin, and he did not buy the top like Marissa. Trevor saw a rebound inside the storm, a rebound strong enough to make money, but also dangerous enough to wipe you out if you get greedy. On March 18, 2018, Trevor bought TRX at $0.026 per TRX, putting in $1,200. Trevor bought about 46,153.85 TRX. By April 30th, 2018, TRX rose to about $0.092. Trevor sold. 46,153.85 TRX times $0.092 equals about $4,246.15. Trevor made about $3,046.15, a return of about 253.85%. It sounds beautiful, but listen to me. A rebound inside a storm kills the most people because it makes you think the storm is over. The storm is not over. While price fought and investor emotions got torn apart, TRON still did what serious projects must do: build infrastructure to stand on its own. The mainnet launched on May 31, 2018. Then on June 25, 2018, they activated the Independence Day milestone. The token migration happened. TRX left the ERC20 shell to run on its own chain. This was a major technical shift. It matters because it changes the nature of the game. A token riding on someone else is completely different from a network that runs itself. But we should also say it clearly. The market does not reward you immediately just because you did the technical work right. The market rewards by cycles, by money flow, by emotion. Doing it right helps you survive longer. Survive longer, then you have a chance. By late 2018, the noise faded. The people who only wanted to get rich fast left. The ones who stayed started looking at TRX with a different lens. The lens of system, cheap fees, speed, and whether the network still runs. And this is extremely important. When excitement disappears, what remains is usage. From here, TRX was no longer measured by how many times someone shouted, but by transaction flow and user habits. Listen to me, the market at that time started changing the rules. Fewer fireworks, more cold logic, more practicality. In crypto explained terms, in a practical world, the project that can keep money flow staying inside has the best chance to create the next big jump. And when people stopped shouting, TRX started working in the coldest way possible, through infrastructure and real usage habits. Back then, a lot of people said TRX was finished. Wrong, very wrong. In crypto, what survives is not what gets praised the most, but what gets used the most. Users need fast transfers, cheap fees, simple steps, and a network that runs reliably every single day. TRON went in that direction. No need for flashy decoration. You do not have to love it. You only have to watch market behavior. Behavior creates flow. Flow creates liquidity. Liquidity creates price. Price creates memory. Memory creates stories. And you already know this, crypto lives on stories, but only stories backed by real usage can survive the winter. In crypto explained terms, usage is the oxygen that keeps a chain alive. 2019 looked boring on the chart, but it was extremely important under the hood. TRON expanded its ecosystem, pushed token standards on its own network, and made moving assets cheaper than many alternatives. They used a resource model like bandwidth and energy. You hold TRX and stake it. You get resources, transactions feel lighter, fees feel cheaper. You see the benefit immediately. Very practical. Listen to me. That is how you build habit, and habit is stronger than advertising. When fees are low, stablecoins have a reason to pass through because people need to move value, not read speeches. Many people did not buy TRX because they loved Justin Sun or loved a slogan. They bought because they needed real fuel to drive on the road. That is the truth. When you understand this, you understand why a network can survive for years and still have users. Then 2020 hit and the world fell into panic. COVID, lockdowns, unemployment, fear everywhere. When fear hits the top, people sell everything to hold cash. Crypto got sold too, with no mercy. TRX dropped hard with the market, because when liquidity gets pulled, all risk assets get dragged down the same way. And at that exact moment, you see clearly who invests by plan and who is controlled by emotion. The emotion-driven person sells because of fear. The plan-driven person looks at cheap price and asks one question. If I truly want to buy cheap, when do I dare to buy? That question hurts, but that question saves your money. In crypto explained language, the best entries often feel emotionally wrong in real time. The hard part in the falling phase is not finding information. The information is all bad news anyway. The hard part is keeping your head cold. Cycles always repeat. Greed then fear, fear then boredom, boredom then hope, hope then greed. Most people buy in greed and sell in fear. A small group does the opposite. And here is what nobody wants to hear. When you go against the crowd, you will get laughed at. People will call you stupid. People will call you reckless. But if you want big profits, you must pay a big psychological price. The market does not pay for comfort. The market pays for discipline and endurance when others panic. If you want to win, you must learn to tolerate loneliness inside your decision. In crypto explained terms, loneliness is often the entry fee for conviction. Jasmine Patel, an ER nurse, lives in San Diego, California. On March 13, 2020, Jasmine bought TRX at $0.00961 per TRX. Jasmine put in $2,000. At that price, Jasmine bought about 208,116.55 TRX. She bought while the hospital was under stress, the news was dark and heavy, and friends told her to quit crypto. Jasmine did not argue. She only wrote her rules and stuck to them. She picked one clear target: when the market comes back and the crowd turns greedy, she will sell. On April 17, 2021, TRX reached about $0.166. Jasmine sold on that exact day 208,116.55 TRX times $0.166 equals about $34,547.35. Jasmine made about $32,547.35 from $2,000 of capital, about 17.27 times. She did not guess candles. She did not pray for luck. She only held her rules while others shook. When the market recovered, the crowd changed its voice insanely fast. Yesterday, they said crypto was a joke. Today, they say crypto is the future. Yesterday, they said TRX was dead. Today, they say TRX is immortal. That is crowd psychology. The crowd always arrives late, speaks loud late, and becomes confident late. And the 2020 to 2021 phase was money returning, psychology shifting from fear to hope, then from hope to greed. The DeFi wave and the altcoin mania heated everything up. TRX benefited because it had real usage flow and low fees, especially stablecoin transfer flow. When the flow gets strong, price jumps hard. Then fake confidence starts inflating. And right then, risk inflates with it. In crypto explained terms, the same flow that lifts price can also inflate dangerous expectations. Carlos Mendoza, an Uber driver, lives in Dallas, Texas. Carlos did not bottom buy like Jasmine. Carlos did it in a very practical way. He accumulated while the market still doubted. He heard plenty of criticism, plenty of laughter, but he watched one thing: price was sitting in a zone everyone hated. On August 31st, 2020, Carlos bought TRX at $0.027, putting in $3,500. Carlos bought about 129,629.63 TRX. He did not expect to get rich overnight. He wanted to ride the cycle. On May 7th, 2021, TRX reached about $0.157. Carlos sold $129,629.63 times $0.157 equals about $20,351.85. Carlos made about $16,851.85, about 5.81 times the original capital. He did not need the bottom. He only needed to buy in doubt and sell when the market got too hot. Then the most dangerous stage appears. The stage where everyone thinks they are a genius. New people come in, see green charts, hear others bragging about profits, and they believe buying equals winning. Listen to me, buying always wins is the sentence that makes you lose money the fastest. Because it makes you buy late. It makes you buy in excitement. And the market loves people who buy in excitement because they become liquidity for the people who bought earlier. This is the #1 lesson of crypto. You do not buy because you are afraid of missing out. You buy only because price is in a reasonable zone according to your plan. If you have no plan, you are playing the role of liquidity for someone else, nothing more. In crypto explained terms, emotion is how you volunteer to be exit liquidity. Heather Kim, a marketing specialist, lives in Seattle, Washington. Heather entered when everything looked the best. On May 7th, 2021, Heather bought TRX at $0.157, putting in $4,000. Heather bought about 25,400 477.71 TRX. She bought because she was afraid of missing out, pure FOMO. Then the market flipped. When liquidity gets pulled, when psychology shifts from greed to fear, price falls very fast. On June 22, 2021, TRX was around $0.053. Heather could not take it and sold. 25,477.71 TRX times $0.053 equals about $1,350.32. Heather lost about $2,649.68, about minus 66.24%. This is a milestone you must remember, not to laugh at her, but to see the cost of buying on emotion and selling on panic. 3 people, 3 behaviors, 3 very different outcomes. Jasmine won because she bought in fear and sold into greed. Carlos won because he bought in doubt and sold when the market got too hot. Heather lost because she bought in excitement and sold in panic. Everything sits inside psychology. Listen to me. You do not need complicated indicators. You need rules. Rule 1, do not buy when your heart is racing from greed. Rule 2, do not sell when your heart is racing from fear. Rule 3, if you have a big profit, take partial profit to reduce pressure. Rule 4, do not all in, because all in turns you into a hostage of the chart. When you are a hostage, you will make the worst decisions at the worst times. In crypto explained terms, rules are what protect you from becoming the chart's prisoner. After the overheated 2021 phase, the market started to split. There were rebounds, there were drops. There were long sideways stretches that made people angry, but usage flow on the network still existed, stablecoins still moved, users still needed transfers. That helped TRX not disappear like projects that live only on promises. Still, price is never loyal. Price is loyal to money flow and psychology. When global rates started shifting, when risk appetite cooled, when investors looked at debt and liquidity, crypto got squeezed for air. You began to see rebounds that made people think safety returned, then drops that destroyed confidence again. This is the stage where the market tests endurance, not knowledge, and the person with no rules gets ground down day by day. Inside that backdrop, a new question appeared. Which coin can survive the longest? TRX started getting examined more closely, no longer through the lens of hype, but through the lens of real risk, stablecoin risk, system risk, legal narratives, and trust after too many market breaks. Listen to me. When psychology shifts from greed to fear, it does not need a big reason. It only needs one spark, one bad headline, one liquidity squeeze. And when that spark touches, it stress tests everything. Anything living only on hype gets burned. Anything with real usage flow gets tested painfully, but it may not break. TRX stands inside that furnace, and from this moment, every buy and sell decision is no longer an emotion game. It is a test of discipline and nerve. In crypto explained terms, this is where survivors are separated from the noise. When 2022 arrived, the atmosphere completely changed. Money pulled out, liquidity tightened. The rosy stories disappeared fast. And when everything contracts, people stop asking which coin can fly the highest and start asking which coin can survive the longest. TRX entered a phase where it was examined more harshly. Stablecoin risk, system risk, legal narratives, and trust after the whole market had already broken so many times. Trust me, when psychology flips from greed to fear, it does not need a big reason. It only needs one spark, one bad headline, one liquidity squeeze. One spark is enough. And when that spark hits, the first thing that burns is hollow confidence. Anything with real usage flow still has a chance. This is where professionals see it differently. I do not look at promises. I look at discipline and the ability to survive. Survive first, then talk about getting rich. Inside that storm, TRON chose to go deeper into stablecoin. USDD was announced to launch on May 5, 2022. People hear the word stable and assume smooth, but algorithmic stablecoins are the kind of land that ignites easily, panics easily, and spreads fear fast. Beginners look at the name. Professionals look at the mechanism. You must look at reserves. Look at how the peg is defended. Look at who stands behind accountability. Look at the reaction when the market gets stressed. And here is what matters. After the market had just been traumatized by collapses, any project tied to stablecoin gets inspected like a needle. Because of that, TRX got placed on the scale of system risk. Remember one thing, the more you hear the word safe, the more you must watch how it stands back up when the market stomps it down. Brooke Taylor, an ICU nurse in Austin, Texas, is the person I want you to remember. Brooke is not a fast flipper. Brooke works night shifts and sees that when people lose their composure, they lose everything. Brooke hates panic. Brooke bought TRX on May 13th, 2022 at $0.0630. Brooke put in $3,000. Brooke received about 47,619.0476 TRX. Brooke did not go online to show off. Brooke also did not sit there counting every candle. Brooke only did something harder. She kept the same plan while the market was screaming. Then on December 4th, 2024, when TRX touched $0.4313, Brooke sold and collected about $20,538.10. Brooke made about $17,538.10, about 584.60%. You can hear the number and get hypnotized, but I want you to hear the core. Brooke won because she did not let fear give orders. She only let her rules give orders. But do not think that road was easy. 2022 and most of 2023 were an endurance test. TRX sometimes bounced, sometimes dropped, and more importantly, it made people bored. Boredom is the market's weapon. When the market makes you bored, you quit by yourself without anyone forcing you. At the same time, negative news kept running every day. This exchange broke. That fund collapsed. This person got liquidated. That company went bankrupt. And inside all that noise, one detail is extremely valuable. If a network has users, the network must keep operating. The survivor is the person who looks past the noise and keeps discipline. On March 22, 2023, the legal story exploded bigger. The SEC announced allegations involving Justin Sun and entities connected to TRON. The headline moved fast, crazy fast, and the crowd's natural reflex is sell first, ask later. But there is something important beginners often miss. Bad news does not automatically kill a network. Bad news only exposes who was holding with thin confidence and who was holding because they understood the structure. The market uses headlines to manufacture fear. Professionals use headlines to measure psychology. Headlines create fear. Fear creates dumping. Dumping creates cheap price. And cheap price only matters to the person who has a plan. Ethan Park, a software test engineer in Seattle, Washington, is the type of person not controlled by headlines. Ethan writes numbers down. Ethan sets rules. Ethan bought TRX on March 22, 2023 at $0.0680. Ethan placed a $10,000 order. Ethan received about 147,058.8235 TRX. Ethan did not beg the market to be kind. Ethan only checked one thing. Is the system still running? Are users still moving stablecoin? Does liquidity still exist? Ethan held. And on December 4th, 2024, TRX reached $0.4313. Ethan sold. Ethan collected about $63,426.47. Ethan made about $53,426.47, about 534.26%. You see it, Ethan did not win because he predicted news correctly. Ethan won because he did not let news drag his emotions around. Do you see the rhythm? In 2024, the market started changing direction. Money came back. People liked telling growth stories again. And TRX did something that surprised many people. It did not only return to the old high, it went further. CoinGecko recorded TRX all-time high at $0.4313 on December 4th, 2024. That day matters. Because it says something simple, the market can hate you for a long time. But if you are still alive, you still have a chance. Chance does not belong to impatient people. Chance belongs to the person who keeps discipline while others mock them. And when TRX hits a new high, you must understand this is not the end. This is where emotional risk becomes the largest. After that breakout, emotion flipped again. People wanted to get rich fast again. People started thinking buying automatically means winning. And I will say it straight, the market does not hand out gifts. It collects tuition. TRX is the same. Sometimes it rallies hard. Sometimes it shakes painfully. Stepping into 2025, anyone without principles will torture themselves. By early 2026, CoinCodex closing data showed TRX rotating around the $0.27 to $0.32 zone, with a $0.3178 close on January 18, 2026, a $0.2741 close on February 6, 2026, and a $0.2799 close on February 13, 2026. The market is doing one thing very clearly. It tests your discipline again after it already showed you the peak. Madison Lee, a real estate broker in Orlando, Florida, is a story you must remember to avoid. Madison saw the headline that TRX hit a new high. Madison saw people showing profits. Madison could not tolerate the feeling of being left behind. Madison bought TRX on December 4th, 2024 at $0.4313. Madison put in $8,000. Madison received about 18,548.574 TRX. Madison had no take-profit plan. Madison also had no stop-loss plan. Madison only had one plan, hope. And hope is the worst strategy. By February 6, 2026, when the closing price was $0.2741, Madison sold in exhaustion. Madison collected about $5,084.16. Madison lost about $2,915.84, about minus 36.45%. The lesson is not whether TRX is good or bad. The lesson is this: if you enter without rules, your emotions will lead you. Now I teach you like a professional, very clear, very practical. First, you must know why you buy. Are you buying because the network is used for real, or because of cheering noise? Second, you must set your invalidation point. If you are wrong, you exit. If you are right, you hold. Without an invalidation point, you are not investing, you are praying. Third, you must know when the market has paid enough, and you must take profit in portions. The person who survives manages risk. The person who disappears chases emotion. And remember one more thing: your position size must be reasonable. If you still have capital, you still have chances. If you blow up your capital, the story ends. Now write these milestones down like nails in wood. On November 12, 2017, TRX touched the lowest level at $0.001804. On January 5, 2018, TRX hit a major peak of the first bubble around $0.302062. On May 5, 2022, USDD was announced to launch, making stablecoin risk part of the TRX story. On March 22, 2023, the SEC announced allegations involving Justin Sun and entities connected to TRON. On December 4, 2024, CoinGecko recorded TRX all-time high at $0.4313, and by February 13, 2026, CoinCodex recorded a $0.2799 close, showing you that after a peak, the market still returns to test discipline again. If you reached this point and felt you were once like Madison, letting FOMO pull you around, that is good, because recognizing it is the first step of change. And if you feel you want to learn the Brooke and Ethan style, buy when fear is loud, sell when excitement is high, then you are moving in the right direction. Click subscribe and turn on the bell so you do not miss the next lessons. Leave a comment with the coin you want me to analyze. I will read it. Share this video with someone who is being dragged around by emotion.